welcome, and congratulations on making the right choice of sessions this afternoon. No, just kidding. We'll try to make it worth your while. It's a little different format for the Affiliate Summit. Instead of a lot of talking heads, we're going to try to just have one talking head. Hopefully it's not a horse's ass. Got an hour of solid info for you. I want to give you some actionable stuff, as well as just some things to really shake you up and have you start thinking about what you should be doing for your affiliates. So without any further ado, I'll tell you what we're going to talk about. First, we're going to talk about the mind of the super affiliate. How many of you are trying to find more super affiliates? Kind of tricky animals, aren't they? They hide out the show. Sometimes they even wear agency badges instead of affiliate badges. Are you one?
Affiliate.
Okay.
Well, I want to hear what you're telling these people to do with track.
All right. Then we'll talk about landing page testing basics. And I'm going to run through a bunch of quick case studies, before and after, just to give you a sense of what's possible. And then I'll talk about how to pick the right math or testing method. Now, I'll try not to use any actual numbers, so I don't want to scare any of you, marketing types out of the room, because I know you all went into marketing to avoid math. So, and hopefully I'll close with some pitfalls to avoid. These are ones that have gotten a lot of people. This is something through hard-won experience that hopefully I can pass on to you and have you not do the same things. And then we'll have room for Q&A, because I speak at 78 RPM. And if you caught that reference, you're probably not a Gen Wire. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the mind of the super affiliate. And sir, no offense to you, but this is a summary of what super affiliates are. They're mercenary, busy, greedy, and lazy. Now, a little backstory. Am I right, sir? A little backstory. Our parent company, Epic Sky, drives a lot of traffic with pay-per-click campaigns, and we have a super affiliate division. So all we did was look in the mirror and say, this is what we are. We actually have a white paper on our site if you guys want to download it, called How to Attract Super Affiliates. It goes into more detail. But the main point here is, okay, first of all, mercenary. Mercenary because they work for themselves. They don't work for you. They don't owe you squat. Is that clear? They will do whatever's in their best interest, whoever pays them the most money. That's another characteristic of a mercenary, right? Who's going to pay me to do the work or the fight or whatever? Busy. They're always, always, always testing. That means they're going to try a test campaign with you. If it doesn't pay out right away, or if there's any kind of procedural screw up, they're gone. They're on to the next one. Greedy. Don't even bother giving a super affiliate your rate card or your rack rate deals. Okay, they're going to beat you up about it. You're going to get better offers, and if they deliver volume on the first test, they're going to ask for even more. That's just a given. So some of you that have the higher margins built in, good for you. Those of you that don't in those industries, tough luck. That just makes your programs that much less appealing to them. And lazy. I'm really lazy. I don't like to do any work to get started, and I don't like to do the work on an ongoing basis. I'm serious. And neither do other super affiliates. So now that we've kind of properly framed all this and you understand where they're coming from, this is what you have to do to get them. And again, this is all from the white paper, but I'll just do the top 10 summary here. Join an affiliate network. How many of you are in just one major affiliate network? Okay, then how many of you aren't? And you have direct program only. Okay, rethink that, because joining an affiliate network, as much of a hassle it is for you, and you have to pay them the cut and all that, means that from the affiliate standpoint, they get a lot of stuff built in. They know their traffic's going to be counted. They're going to get credit. They're going to get paid on time. They're going to get one check for all of the programs they have running on that affiliate network instead of having to hassle with you one-on-one. So from their standpoint, a real good idea. Offer better payouts. It goes without saying. Now, there's two ways to do that, and we'll talk about that when we get to number one. But really, I'm looking at earnings per click. So your actual payout doesn't matter if your conversion rate's in the toilet. You can offer me $1 million per sign-up, but if your page doesn't convert, I don't need you. Okay? But better payouts help, all other things being equal. Pay up. Pay up. What does that mean? Pay on time, pay frequently, pay consistently, don't have holdbacks. Oh yeah, in theory, someone could take us up on our 90-day guarantee and cancel on day 89. Well, yeah, that's true, but you know what percentage of people do that, so don't take a 20% reserve against that contingency when you know it's 2% of your people are going to do that. You know, pay most of the money through as soon as you can. If this stuff seems obvious, it should, because this is how everybody is thinking about it on the other side of the aisle. Sir, it's true. Any other affiliates in the room? Oh, you see, guys, okay. Allow bidding on your brand, especially if you're doing, say, pay-per-click traffic. We hear a lot of this debate about, well, you know, our brand is, you know, you're just piggybacking on our brand, and why you're not delivering any value. Here's how super affiliate test works on PPC traffic. I'm going to do a small-scale test on the premium traffic. Okay, if that doesn't work, it's not going to get any better, folks. So I'm going to shut it down. So if I can't make money on your brand, what's the point in trying generic keywords? You with me? So we know there's a lot of politics involved in that, but that's from, again, the super affiliate's perspective. Don't be high maintenance, changing offers, terms and conditions all the time, swapping out your landing pages. What the heck? This was working last week. Oh yeah, we forgot to tell you we changed our landing page. Bad idea. Really bad. Remember, I'm lazy. I don't want any changes. I want money hitting my bank account. Everything else are intermediate steps that I'm going to work out of the process. That's how I'm thinking. Don't interrupt my bank account money flowing in. Don't change the rules of the game as related to that. Share sensitive information. What is your current conversion rate? If I'm new and I'm calling you up, I'm going to do kind of a due diligence on you. I'm going to say, hey, okay, how much traffic is there that I can drive? What's your payout? Who's got competitive offers? I'm going to do my homework. And if I know offer X over here has got a 5% conversion rate, and I know nothing about yours, why would I even bother? The 5% might pencil out for me. You might have 6%, but you not telling me means that it's just an extra element of risk in evaluating that offer. So I'm much less likely to even want to test with you. Listen to suggestions. How many of you have gotten suggestions from your affiliates? You may consider them criticism or pot shots, but they're really suggestions. How many of you have gotten feedback, let's put it this way, from your affiliates? Nobody? Your affiliates don't tell you anything? One person there, 2 people. Okay. If you're not getting feedback from your affiliates, ask for it. Interact with them, call them up. Rule of 80-20, you don't have to touch the grade on watch, but you do have to talk to your super affiliates. Okay? Email them, ask them for suggestions. Go the extra mile. That means creating extra landing page, special offers, whatever that means in your world, do that. But number one, and why we're all here, it's really big about it, fix your conversion rate. Why? Well, let's talk about the economics of conversion on your affiliate. Here's a very simple example. And let's say it's something that's 100% profit margin, like a software download or something like that. I know some of you have actual products that you're running. So I have a payout of $1.25. I spend $1 doing whatever it is that I do to get your traffic there. So my profit's a quarter. Okay, so far so good. Let's say that you can increase your conversion rate by 20% on your landing page. What does my world look like now? Well, now I'm getting $1.50, so the $1.25 times 20% more. My cost's still $1. I'm still doing whatever it is I'm doing, right? Look at that, though. My profit is at 50 cents. So you change your conversion rate by 20%, you've doubled my profits. You see how the math works? Do you have my royalty now? Yeah, as we say in California. So it doesn't take much. It's not like, say, well, 5%, 10%, won't matter. It will to the super affiliate because it's pure profit to them. They usually have a sunk fixed cost in their activities. So anything else you deliver hits their bottom line. So they're going to scale up their program and drive more traffic because more traffic is now cost effective for them. You're going to be very happy. By the way, here's the trick. You haven't had to change your payout at all. Can you try? Let's talk about how to do this. So just the basics of landing page testing to get everybody here buzzword compliant. So your basic online marketing activities, you drive traffic, and then you want somebody to do something when they get to your website, and then you establish a relationship with them through email marketing and increase the likelihood of them transacting with you again, right? So conversion is persuading them to take the desired action. And the conversion rate is what percentage of people take that desired action. Now, I need some shout-out answers. What's a conversion action on your site? Anybody? Raise a hand. Anybody awake after lunch, after that good salmon? You're awake, sir? Yes.
Fill an application.
Fill an application, form feed, lead gen. Anybody else?
Place an order.
Place an order, buy something. Okay. Anybody else? That's it. You have fill out an application, buy something. You have click through to another page. You have download something. You might have time on site as a metric. Yes? Opt-in. Okay, which is, yeah, good. Another form fill kind of thing. So a conversion action is something that's trackable and has clear value to you. You might have multiple conversion goals. Either they buy or I get them on my email list and try to remarket to them over time. Those are worth different amounts, but they're both valid. And the question then becomes, you have two goals or more, how do you optimize the right mix of those? Okay? So landing page testing is improving your conversion rate by testing, by trying different versions of your landing page. Okay? So this is why you should care. Right now, this is the state of the state. All of you are concentrating on traffic, right? Give me more traffic, give me more affiliates, give me more on the front end. But what you're doing is like it's taking a fire hose and going, trying to aim all that to a tiny little keyhole, which is your landing page. Most of it's bouncing back. Your conversion rate is the weak point. The actual interaction and experience on your site is the weak point. And this is basically leaving a lot of money on the table. That's what you have to realize. So I'm going to ask you a question, and you tell me the answer. What's a camel? Anybody? Need a hand. Come on, guys. I need the answer right on the page. Anybody? Sure. Well, you can't play the game. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
A horse designed by Click.
Very well put, sir. I would agree with that. Here's $5 for your trouble. Hey, you know, it's not a free drink ticket, but what the hell? All right. So this is the typical community that designs your site. I just want to know who you think should design your site. Let's vote. Webmaster. Or show of hands. One person thinks webmaster. Marketing. You guys. Yeah. You're the smartest ones, right? You should be designing your site. How about IT? The guy in the back shaking his head. No. Keep them in the cage. Throw in raw meat once in a while. Keep them away from your customer interactions. Okay? Ad agency. Anybody using an ad agency? Anybody? An ad agency? No hands. Okay. And finally, your boss. Or as my friend Avinash puts it, the HIPPO, the highest paid person's opinion. That's who usually decides how websites are made, right? So, which one of these do you vote for?
The customer.
Who did? Who said that? Sir? You are absolutely right. Here's another $5 for your trouble. See, this we're talking about here is really kind of a radical change. You're not sitting inside of your bunker, inside of your company, looking at your Soviet-style 5-year plan, saying, this is my brand definition, and my brand guidelines say this, and we can only use this messaging. This is now standing all that on its head. It's a messy democracy. The barbarians are beating down the gates of your castle, of your fortress. But the good news is these barbarians are ready to give you their money. So if you ask them, and ask them to participate, and let them vote, it's a democracy, it's a messy process. They're going to define your brand. They're going to define your value proposition. They're going to define your pricing and messaging and your colors and everything else about your offering. So you have to think of it this way. They're the ones that are in control. Now that kind of sounds scary, right? Because we're the experts. If we don't know, who knows better than us? Well, guess what? Your customers are always right, literally. So let me show you some examples just to kind of get you thinking about this. This is a company, and many of you may have heard of it, Real Age. You take their free Real Age test, and it tells you how young or old you really are based on how well you've maintained your body or used it. In this test, we had about 500,000 different versions. So here's the before and after pages. I'd like to show different examples. This one I like to show because it's kind of not so obvious what happened here. The page on the right is still a registration page, right? You sign up for your free test. Still the same questions you ask. All right, there's some tweaks. But if I didn't tell you which one was a before and after, would you even know which one was better? Well, how much better? Okay, let's take a look at that previous slide again. Same traffic, same composition of your audience. The one on the right is 40% better. Through a bunch of subtle little tweaks. Needle in the haystack, 1 in 500,000 different versions was that best version. You found it through testing. Let's look at another one. This is a software company, Unibly. Just talking to the Digital River guys. You know, they have a lot of software companies. These guys, or anybody here from Unibly? Okay, well they're Europe-based, so it's unlikely. But they were arrogant. We've optimized this page for 2 years. We have a 30% conversion rate to download. 30%, that's good, right? No matter what you're asking for. 30% conversion rate of visitor to download. You can't possibly improve this page. So we tested 3 only versions of their page and we came up with one on the right. Again, okay, it's shorter, it's a little cleaner. Bot shot is gone because you're downloading it. Buttons a different color, so something different. Subtle tweaks, 3 million different versions, just, you know, throw it in the blender, see what comes to the top. We went from 30 to almost 38%, a 24% improvement. So I've never seen a perfect landing page. Anybody here with a 100% conversion rate? Yeah, there's room for improvement. Okay, that's the point. Really good pages can be improved as well. Okay, well, those are kind of high traffic situations. Let's look at Power Options. These guys are a tiny site. They have a real high value product, stock option research software. Sign up for a free trial, and then after that, you start paying. So we only came up with 3 different versions of their design, because they only had 10 signups a day. Let me show you their site before. So one on the left, you can see all that information. What they really want you to do after reading all of that, as if you would, is click on the 14-day free trial at the top. Everybody see that up there? And then that took you to the second page, which showed you report screenshots, and told you all about how great this tool was. And really, all they wanted you to do was to fill out your name and email. Sign up for the free trial. No credit card required, full functionality, full support, 14 days. So we came up with a couple of different versions. The winning one is on the right there. So just 3 different versions in this test. We said, okay, want to trade options with confidence? Now you can. Full access, 14-day free trial. Start by trials and call to action. And some kind of credibility symbols on the right. Anybody want to guess what the performance improvement? Now, I have to warn you, they fought us tooth and nail. They said, we have a sophisticated audience. They are quants. They want lots of information. And if you don't give it to them, they'll feel shortchanged. So we said, okay, let's test it. Okay, so you don't need a lot of data to do testing either. 10 conversions a day is kind of the bare minimum, but you can do that. That's all these guys have. 1 page, 1 test, 3 versions. Okay? A couple more real quick. Engine Ready was a PPC company that managed a large-scale campaign for a debt negotiation firm. I know there's quite a few folks here from kind of the debt financial lead industry. This was a campaign, had a couple of 100 different versions. So they're driving all the traffic to this one page. And here it is, and here's what we ended up with afterwards. Supposed to fill out that big red form on the right of the left hand. So let's talk about how to do this. Well, this is a warning, possible math ahead. The key here is really what method you pick to tune. And I'm going to give you some considerations for picking the right method. You have to consider the size of the test, and that's based on several factors that I'll talk about. And you need to consider variable interactions. Anybody ever heard that phrase before, variable interactions? Okay. Nobody. Okay. It's not really that scary. All it means is context. What things appear together on your page matter. And I'll show you an example of all this, but I just wanted you to not be scared of that math term. So, size of the test. You say, do I have to create 1,000,000 pages? I can't do that. I don't have the time. Well, no, you really don't. That real age test that I showed you before, this was their page. We broke it up into 3 different page headers. So they had the original one and 2 alternatives. One alternative version of the nav bar, the original, one alternative. 5 different headlines, the original plus 4 more. Could you think up of alternative headlines rather than what's your real age? Yeah, about a second, right? So it's not hard to come up with different versions for your test. In this case, there are 12 variables on the page, and we came up with a total of 38 different values. That means there were 12 original, and we came up with a couple of dozen more new ideas. So 500,000 versions in this case is really a couple of dozen ideas. You could easily look at that page for 5 minutes and come up with that there. Okay? But when you multiply it out loud, 3 times 2 times 5, I'm not going to do that. 500,000 versions. Okay, that's how you get to those test sizes. So you as a marketer are probably brimming with good ideas. The question is, how many can you put into the test? I'll talk about that. But that's how the math of that works. You just multiply out the number of different things you have that you're going to have in the test. 500,000 unique versions, what we call recipes in the test. Okay, I'm going to talk about interactions next. Now, let's say I'm selling cars. You know, that's nice, right? You could be a good used car salesman. And you're testing 2 different headlines and I have 2 different pictures to go with them, okay? So let's talk about interactions. This one is Ferraris are really fast. A positive interaction, right? That picture reinforces that headline. You'd all agree. Okay. How about now? Same headline, different picture. And you can say, okay, you'd agree probably that's a negative interaction, right? That's the consequences of Ferraris being really fast. Well, so you say, this is a made-up bullshit example. Nobody's going to use that picture to sell cars. Come on, man. How about now? Sorry. Now. That's a Volvo that crashed in that tree and the driver walked away unharmed. Volvo's got a 50, 60-year safety record, making all kinds of innovative improvements in their cars for safety. Could I sell that picture could I use that picture to sell a car? Yeah, that's a positive interaction again. So, repeat after me. I know it's after lunch. I know it's freezing in here. It's a meat locker, but it's not the headline. It's not the picture. It's the context in which they appear. Okay, are you picking this up on the audio? That's what variable interactions are, okay? Now, how many of you think that there are no variable interactions in marketing? Landing pages, okay? There are. We're trying to create them. We're trying to create synergies on the page. You want the headline. You work with the call to action and the offer and the button color and everything else. We want it to be greater than the sum of the parts. And most testing methods assume, like A/B split testing and standard multivariate testing, assume that interactions don't exist. We're going to assume there's an average best headline and an average best picture. Doesn't work. Let me give you an example. Let's say I have a 70-year-old man in New York City and a 10-year-old girl in San Diego, where I'm from. Does that mean that your average demographic is a 40-year-old hermaphrodite in Kansas City? That's what averaging does, okay? You're going to come to the same kind of bizarre conclusions. Okay? You don't want to do it. That's the point. Okay, let's kind of summarize this real quick. A/B split testing, how many of you have heard that term? How many of you are doing A/B split testing? Okay, good. So what that is just very simple. You take your original version of the page and you do one or more alternatives to it. So it could be A/B split testing or ABC if you have a couple of alternatives. You know, several different versions. And you send equal amounts of traffic to each one at random. It's very easy to implement. There's a bunch of free tools out there. You do it yourself. You need at least 10 conversions a day. Again, a conversion is a countable event that has economic value. Download, form fill, purchase, whatever it is in your world, okay? You need 10 of those a day to a single page that's reliable and steady. We're not talking about email blasts. We're not talking about really peaky stuff that's going to go away. We're talking about steady traffic, okay? Now, you could have affiliates that are doing email marketing on your behalf, but as long as you have a lot of them, and on average you get steady traffic with steady conversion rates, that's fine. But you just can't have people doing a drop on Monday and no traffic on Tuesday. You can't test that. Okay, steady traffic. And your tests are 1 to 10 different recipes or unique versions of your page. Okay? Next step up would be parametric multivariate testing. Most of you have heard of this. Design of experience, Taguchi method. Anybody have heard of these terms? Okay, so these are fine, and you'll find a lot of arguing back and forth on which one is the best. And it really comes down to kind of like, is a slingshot or a BB gun the best way to stop a charging element? Well, the answer is neither. So don't worry about the flavors of these, but just what you're doing at the multivariate test is testing several different things on your page at once. Like I said, 2 headlines, 2 body copies, 4 different calls to action. That's a multivariate test. You need at least 50 conversions a day to do this. Okay? And typically your test is going to be kind of in the range of 100 or fewer unique versions of the page. Okay? And finally, there's non-parametric tuning. And what this allows you to do is specific math that's been designed for internet marketing for very large-scale tests. And it takes variable interactions into account. It doesn't assume that they don't exist. That's very important. But you need higher data rates. You need a lot of more conversions, so minimum of 100, preferably a lot more orders of magnitude more, so to really make it operate. So for some of you, it's kind of like, yeah, 100's a joke, I got that all day long. For others, it's like, we'll never get to 100, so this may be out of your possibility. So routinely tests that we do with this have 1 million, 10 million unique versions of the page, and you can see how easy it is to get to those test sizes in that real age example. Okay, let me give you some pitfalls to avoid. I'm going to give you my favorite grab bag. This is from my book, these examples. These are big companies. Adorama, I don't know how much they do online. They sell photo and video here in New York. This is their homepage. Now, how many links on that page? 146. I'll save you the trouble. No joke. 146 links on that page. Now, what are you supposed to do? Let's take a closer look. Okay, there's a little article that says How to Master Dog Photography by Bowser. Okay, yeah, I'll read that. Then there's copiers and printers and fax advertising in the top right-hand corner from people. Adorama's tagline, if you can read it up there, is the photography people. Yeah, I'm going to buy my copier from the photography people. Okay? Then there's this grab bag of a dozen different products on the page, ranging from about $70 to thousands. Yeah, out of all the items you stock, I'm definitely going to need one of those 12, so let's use all that real estate for that. Okay? This is what a typical homepage, if that's where you're landing your traffic, looks like. And it's just awareness squandered. Here's one of their competitors, B&H Photo. They're kind of in the same line, they're a little more high-end professional. And they still have a lot of links around the periphery, so I'm not going to hold that up as some paragon of good usability. But in the middle of the page, what are they devoting their real estate to? Their high-level categories. It's clear, right? Okay, they have plasmas, they have cameras and lenses, they have projectors and laptops. I get it. I know what scent trail to follow to get to what I'm looking for in this vast array of 100,000 or whatever items that they carry. That's a much more effective use of the space. So don't squander your visitors' attention. Don't give them too many choices to make. Think about what you're presenting them with. You can't have it all. It's like spreading peanut butter on bread. If you spread it too thin, it's just not there. You can't taste it. It's the same with attention. You can't spread it too thin. So number one pitfall is squandering attention. Many of you had to really scream and interrupt your visitors to get into your website. You're like, come to my site, please. Okay, now they're there. The woman's over there recoiling and saying, that is loud. Once they get to your site, you can tone them down. They're already there. Now you can focus on what you want.
One level down.
Okay. Stop screaming at them. Eliminate choices. That's another important one. What's the purpose of your page? For most of you, it's a single conversion. You know what it is. And what's the rest of the stuff doing on your page? Study after study has shown that less is more. Less text, less visual clutter, more white space equals better retention of information and higher conversion rates. A higher likelihood that people will act. Seems obvious. We all know it. We all know what our attention span is when we get to a cluttered page, right? So unclutter your page. Unclutter what remains. Okay, how about this? Let's set this another e-commerce site. I'll get to some other kinds of examples as well. Frustrating user experience. I was on Zappos.com, and apparently they're doing really well and selling lots of shoes. So I did a little search, men's athletic, size, price range, and then I got the screen on the bottom. Oh, by the way, this was written by IT Survey, right? Sorry, no results found. Please try a different combination of searches. That's really welcoming, isn't it? Yeah. Just the choice of text you use. Oh, and then, by the way, as like to add insult to injury, would you like spam with that? We'll notify you when we have shoes you don't want in your size. Right? I told them what I wanted. This is not a good user experience. Instead, here's what Shoes.com does. They have, or had on their site when I took this picture, kind of a wizard on the left. You can drill down by anything you want. So if I drill down by hiking shoes category, it'll restrict the size chart to be only the shoes that are available. Okay, so I'm not ever going to get stuck. If I want to go by brand or search or color or whether it's on sale, I can do all that. I can back out any of my choices, and it's giving me a running total so I can know how many choices I have left. Eventually I did this in about a second, got down to 2 pairs of shoes. I bought one. Out of 12,000 shoes that they had in the men's department, I was very quickly able to zero in on a couple. Okay? So a lot of times just even how you let people search will make a huge difference. Okay, so pitfall number 2 is frustrating the user. How many of you would have felt stupid on the Zappos site if you'd gotten an empty search with that, sorry, try a different combination of searches bit, right? Don't make people feel stupid. It's kind of a basic thing. Doesn't work. And avoid painting them into corners. So have graceful error messages, avoid getting them into those problem places in the first place. Right? Let's talk about something else. How about risk reducers? Here's smart bargains. And what do they have at the bottom? Trust and credibility symbols. That's good stuff. Better Business Bureau, Visa, MasterCard, VeriSign, these are BizRate. These are all things that enhance credibility, right? These are all companies that have spent hundreds of millions building their brands, and you can get the halo effect just by putting them on your site and making yourself some more credible. It's wonderful stuff, except for one thing. See that scroll line? That's on a big monitor. I'll never see those. 90% of people will never scroll down to see those. They're invisible. What's the point of having your McAfee safe website when you don't put that at the top of your page? That's not the way to do it. Here's how you do it. So, by the way, smart bargains, not so smart. PetSmart is, for a while, this isn't the way their site is now. This is how they ran their HackerSafe logo. What do you normally see in the upper left-hand corner of the page? The logo, right? It's an establishing point. It's, am I in the right place? What is this place? Okay. They've taken the radical step of replacing that with a HackerSafe symbol. Instead, they put their logo in the middle, made it super jumbo size, okay. But you instantly get this two-part message. And what's that message? We're safe to shop with, we're PetSmart. Right? Before you see anything else on the page, you will take that away. So, pitfall number 3 is invisible risk reducers. If you can't see them, they don't exist. You have to show them not just on the checkout, but throughout your site, and not just at the bottom of the page in the footers and afterthought, but above the fold. Prominent client list. Let me show you an example. We had a client, SF Video, they had a lead gen form for DVD duplication and replication. Where's that form? It's on the left where I've hidden in gray. Your eye wouldn't really even see it when you first got to the page. Why? Because you'd see all of those logos. Now again, just like risk reducers, which make you less anxious, this is the other part of that, social proof. Look at those companies. Who wouldn't be impressed by that client list? I mean, you get this carryover effect. Look, if I can do it for Microsoft, don't you think I can handle your little itty-bitty DVD duplication project, right? It's transference of trust. And so most of the space on that page is devoted to that. You don't know who I am. Why should I give you my information to get an instant quote? Because these other companies have gone before me and had a good outcome. So how can you leverage testimonials, associations you belong to, client logos? And by the way, you didn't hear it here, but with client logos, our policy, even designing pages usually ask forgiveness rather than permission. Put their logo up, and if their lawyers call them, take it down. You know, no harm, no foul. But you didn't hear that here. Cut. No, just kidding. All right. Media coverage, same idea. Here's Real Age again. You go to their site and start taking the test, you'll see those brands of where they appear. Those are brands that are really, really big. They're media brands. By definition, they should be prominent, right? That's a big halo effect. Hey, you know, if USA Today covered this, then it's good enough for me. I mean, it's safe to put in my... And people are putting in their age, their lifestyle, their medical information. For what? For a free test that tells you what your real age is. But they're forking out over all of that sensitive personal information because they trust those other brands. Yes, sir, question?
Yeah. So all you have on there is in order to build the trust, it's just social proof. You have as featured on CNN, Fox News. So let's just say what's featured on Fox News.
Okay, well, what do you do when you're not?
Yeah.
Okay, well, are you a member of the Greater New Brunswick E-Commerce Merchants Association? Oh, okay, my point is that you can get some kind of credibility, even if it's just client testimonials. Whatever you have, put it up there, make it prominent, and give it some real estate. You may not have pulled this good. I agree. So pitfall number 4 is lack of social proof. Transfer trust from larger brands in the form of endorsements, affiliations, and media coverage. Okay, and transfer trust from your clients in the form of logos, case studies, and testimonials. If you go to our site, you know, we have both kinds. We have all the media coverage we've ever had. We have case studies and client logos all over the place. Okay? Depends on your business, of course, and what's relevant. Do that. If you don't have social proof, you're missing a lot of opportunity. Okay, let me give you one of my favorite examples. This is on McAfee's site. I was trying to buy some kind of software, some spy protection software. In the middle of my shopping experience, this is what I got. Would you like to buy our Total Protection Complete 10-in-1 Identity Theft Protection Package? Okay, remember when this is happening? This is when I've already opened my wallet. I said, I want to buy something. Can you imagine that in a store? Somebody said, okay, you're ready to buy something? Would you like these purple sneakers with that? It's just stupid, right? Or maybe stupid. It was stupid for me because I just backed out and went and bought Norton's equivalent of this. So if you're going to do this kind of stuff and interrupt people, make sure you test it, because you may get a lift from the people that pick up this offer, but if 5% of them pick it up, you've annoyed the other 95% of them. Even if they continue with the current transaction, they may think poorly of you, and that reflects on your brand and their likelihood of continuing to buy from you or to interact with you. So think about the consequence of that. I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong, but it is jarring when something like this happens to you. How many of you have been surprised at some kind of online transaction before? Feels weird, isn't it? Feels inappropriate. Here's another example for transaction design. This is Overstock, right? Some of you might probably heard of this. This is their checkout process. We're in account login. Please enter your email. New customer? Yes. I am a new customer. You create a password here. No, I'm a returning customer. And my password is whatever it is. You know who wrote this page? IT guys. IT guys wrote this page. They said, on one form, we could get new and returning. We'll have you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Problem is, they check the no box. How many are repeat customers? 5%, maybe. The other 95% should have been pre-checked to yes. And then what happens? Okay, let's say I am a new customer. You create a password here. This must be one of those Zen koan things. Why are these here? What do I do now? I don't know. Okay, this is what happens when you actually click that radio button. It makes new fields that you weren't expecting. pop-up and it says create your password. Oh, and by the way, would you like to pay on that? There's a little checkbox. Okay. Don't surprise people, don't have transactions that are laid out like this. Okay? There would be a better design. Separate them into roles. I'm a new customer. By the way, that's most of the people, so let's make that more prominent. Proceed to checkout. Give me the option to bypass this BS in the first place. You don't need to create an account for me to transact with you. If you do, you need to fire your IT people. Or register and give them the value proposition for faster future checkouts. Don't ask for their password twice. They know what it is. If they don't, you can always email them a new one. And then for returning customers, let them transact with you too. What you know will be even better? Hint, it's at the bottom of the page. Don't create an account for people before they give you their money. Why do you need it? You can still create a record in your database. You don't need them to be able to log in again. Most of them will never buy from you again. And those that do have the option to do it at the end. Get their money. Get their money first. So, pitfall number 5 is surprising or confusing visitors. No one likes surprises. Just say no to surprises. All right, pop quiz. Let's say I'm doing a test. Let's switch back to kind of testing mode a little bit. And in week 1 of my test, my conversion rate was about 4.5%. Week 2, it jumped to 5%. The question is, should I get a promotion for that?
And a raise.
And a raise? Yes. Well, the answer in this case, this is real client data, is no. Sorry. Who wanted the raise? You got fired. If you look at this closer, your new page did perform better on week 2, but your original baseline did even better. So week 1, you're actually up 29% over the original. Week 2, you'd be down 19%. Happened to be a holiday week. Holiday people like everything, conversion rate went up, but they like the original page better than your new one. Happens. So things have gotten worse. And if you hadn't collected information about your original version, you would have never known that. So pitfall number 6 is ignoring your baseline. Whenever we run a test, we usually devote 15 to 25% of the traffic to your original version, so you know what's going on with it. Because you don't really care about how high the conversion rate is this week. It could go up or down for a number of reasons. What you care about is your new version doing better than your original? That's what you should care about. So it's relative to the baseline, not absolutely whether your conversion rate's going up or down. If it's better, we'll start using that one. Okay, another pop quiz. We have a head-to-head A/B split test. And on the same amount of traffic, option A got 90 conversions and option B got 100. So the question is B really better than A? And this is kind of a zen for me because the answer is maybe. You're entering the realm of statistics, like the Twilight Zone. 1/3 of the time, that difference that you saw between 100 and 90 would have been due to a streak of luck. So let me ask you this question a different way. If you had 190, would you be willing to take a 1/3 chance that you lose your job or get demoted? Because that's what you're doing by picking that 100 over the 90. A lot of people do this. This is bad. With not enough data, they're making decisions. Now, I know you're all watching the pot boil and you see what your conversion rate is and how much traffic people are sending you and your pay-per-click average conversion rates and all that stuff. You have to wait for enough data. Let me show this to you graphically. Here are the error bars. This is if I wanted to be 95% sure. Then I would have these error bars of the answer. So you can see how the top of the error bars for A is actually higher than the bottom of the error bars for B. In other words, there's a chance that A, even though the sample says it's lower, can be higher, right? Now, by the way, before I scare you, you see there's no numbers on those error bars. This is something you can set up Excel to do in a second. So you don't have to know statistics. You just need to know how to program a simple formula in Excel. If anybody needs it, let me know. So the bottom line is, I don't really know which one is better here. It's too fuzzy. Let's take a look at this one. Now look, these are still 10% difference in height, the big blue bars. But the error bars have uncrossed. Now what's happened here? I'm pretty sure, at least in 95% confidence, that B is now better than A. Now remember, we had 90 and 100 transactions. We had to collect 15 times as much data to get those error bars to go across. You with me? You can't keep pulling the trigger on this. This is not day trading. Okay. So pitfall number 7, and this is a biggie, folks, not collecting enough data. Pick whatever confidence level you're happy with. If you're being aggressive and you want to test lots of different versions, I just want to be 90% sure. If you have a lot of value running through your page and you don't want to screw the pooch, make it 99%. Okay? But whatever you're comfortable with, then you have to wait. And then wait some more. And then wait until you collect the right amount of data to be certain. And then it's kind of like one of those, timers in the oven. Ding, it's done. Okay? Just wait till you get enough information. So, this is what we covered. The mind of the super affiliate. Sir, you are lazy, mercenary, greedy, and forget that one. Landing page testing basics, case studies, picking a testing method, the 7 deadly sins to avoid, and now we're on to the Q&A. Now, before we do the Q&A, though, I'd like everybody to stand up, stretch, check it out. Okay, now look under your chair or the chairs around you, and if you find one of these flyers for my book, you've got the golden ticket. Just look around, flip them over. You have one? No, sir. That's not the one. The one I'm talking about has black tape on it. Just look around you. You know it's there. You think he's out of the wrong chair? Sure, I'm going to give you a clue. You're really warm. All right, we have a winner. This gentleman right here. So you're going to get a copy of my Landing Optimization book. I'll autograph it for you later. And just real quick, all of you have the bags for the conference from Market Health. Go to their booth 914 if you're interested. After the show, I'm going to have a few more copies I can sell you, autograph if you like. If not, fine, go buy them on Amazon or don't buy them, I don't care. Anyway, here's a couple more resources for you. The book site, but then we have several downloads. If you go to our page, to sitetuners.com/downloads.html, you can download the How to Attract Super Affiliate white paper. This is the one I told you about that gets into the mind of the super affiliate and tells you, a lot more detail why you should be doing that top 10 list of things to make their life easier, which will make your life more rich and rewarding. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is just open it up for Q&A and answer any specific questions you have. So, sir.
The examples you talked about assume that the landing page, the process required a single page. You were running a million customers.
The question was single page versus multiple page. When I say landing page, it can be your whole site. If you want to change the page shell of your whole site. Or it could be a microsite just for a campaign. Or it could be a multi-step registration process where you make changes to each of the pages along the way. As you recall that Power Options example, we went from a 2-step registration to a 1-step. That's a perfectly acceptable test. You're really free-form in what you can test. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, if you are running tests for multiple pages, for lead gen, something you mentioned.
Lead gen, yeah.
Sometimes pages forms for insurance or something like that, 4, 5, 6 pages. Those tests seem like there would just be so many variables because you don't know what on the first page would affect the second page. I mean, how do you test variables like that?
How do you test across multiple pages? There's 2 basic approaches, and this goes to the amount of data you need for testing too. A lot of times, your action doesn't have to be a completed application. It could be just, I went from page 1 of the application to page 2 without errors, okay? There's many more of those than completed applications. So if your data rate is low, you can kind of go upstream to smaller micro actions. Remember we're saying a conversion is something that's measurable and has economic value. You know the drop-off at every step in your funnel. You know the value of just going from the first to the second page. In other words, if the completed app is worth $100 and you lose 20% of people from the first to the second step, that's worth $20. Okay, so you can quantify just that micro action value and test on that much higher data rate of people just going from the first to second page. So usually we work the funnel from the front to the back.
So you test the first page.
And then fix the second and the third and so on. But again, if you have enough data, you can test changes on all of the pages in one shot. Question in the very back.
So can you mention some specific tools or scripts for doing all this?
The question was tools. How do you actually do this? The best tool, we're authorized consultants for Google Website Optimizer. That's free. Okay? It used to be you had to have an AdWords account, even though you didn't have to spend money in AdWords to use it. That was when they were in beta. It's now free. You can just separately create a Google Website Optimizer account and do this. You can go up to 8 different variables on the page and up to 10,000 versions of your total versions in your test. And it's a great tool. One of the things that Google definitely does right is they collect data in a round-robin fashion. If you ever hear the words fractional, factorial, design of experiments, or Taguchi method, run for the hills. We have another white paper about why you should do that. But sampling very specific recipes in your test, really bad idea because of those context effects and variable interactions I talked about. So Google does what's called full factorial data collection. I won't bore you with it, but basically samples across the board evenly, all the different versions. Easy tool. You need to have basic JavaScript skills to throw their little tags into your pages.
Any other tools?
That's the free one. The rest you have to pay for. You're certainly welcome to use our tuning engine. It's not a promo you asked. We're also going to come out with a free version of that in the next 2 to 3 months. And it scales to much larger tests if you have high data rates. Most of the other folks are full service. You can also use Vertster, A/B split tester, I think. There's another one. Look at the free ones. A lot of these are actually built in to web analytics packages. If you're just looking for simple A/B split testing, that's now supported in a lot of analytics packages. So it should check your particular one. Maybe you already have this capability. Yeah. Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. If you're launching a brand new landing page, just show examples of something already that exists. Is it better to have really drastic things to test? Does it look like you're making slight tweaks like font size or exactly what the heading was? Do you want to just kind of make them as drastic as possible?
Okay, the question was, should you test drastic changes? And yes, the answer is, it depends on your risk tolerance and your goals. If you have a lot of data, you can get real granular. And, okay, blue button versus light blue button, that kind of stuff. But if you have just a little bit of data, you can do a wholesale page redesign and consider that one alternative version. So make lots of changes, kind of throw your best practices or all of your ideas into the page and just say, it's the original or this one, and I don't care what's going on within the page. I just care about finding a better one. So you can get either really coarse or very granular on what to test. If you have the luxury of high data rate, you can do a lot more granular stuff. But also it's kind of how heretical do you want to get it? You just have been beating at a page for a long time and doing small tweaks and nothing's improving. And yeah, maybe it's time to try kind of an outside-the-box design. Absolutely. Don't be afraid to go radical. The way you kind of compensate for the risk of that is you maybe give a lot less of your traffic to the new page to make sure that you didn't cause a drastic reduction in conversion, because that's also possible during testing. And then once you know that it's performing better, shift more traffic over to it, kind of thing. When you test that. Answer your question.
Yeah. Well, specifically, if it's a brand new landing page, do you have any?
If it's a brand new one, try 2 or 3 different ones and make them different. But follow all of the guidelines and avoid all the pitfalls we talked about. There's definitely some best practices around this. And most people just aren't following them. The old saying, common sense isn't. Yeah. Sir?
One of the slides you listed about 12 different,
Speak up, please.
yeah, on one of your slides, you listed 12 different things that you test. Is there some sort of a hierarchy or which elements that you prioritize testing first, like the header for the graphics?
Yeah. The question was, okay, there's a million things you could test on your page. How do you prioritize what you test? And that's a great question. Actually, devote a whole chapter in the book just to that. You basically focus on the pages that have the most economic value, and then within those pages, the most visible things. So one way to think of it is, what's above the fold and what are you devoting a lot of real estate to? Okay. Headline's critical. If you have a hero shot or a picture, that's definitely a candidate for testing. The call to action itself, what you say on the button or the offer or the bottom of the form, the headline of the form, if you have a form that needs to be filled out. So go for those high impact things. I mean, if you test what's in the footer, again, 98% of people won't even scroll to see it. So definitely the more prominent stuff. And by prominent, I mean screen real estate and also the amount of attention it gets. Test pictures. If you have pictures, especially pictures of people, people will look at pictures. Our brains are just wired to look at other people. So you may want to test in removing pictures of people, or changing pictures of people. There's another test we did with Real Age where they had little slates, and 3 people, 3 across, and what's your real age? And they have little mini profiles of these people. And actually testing which pictures people looked at was very revealing, very interesting, caused a big improvement. Sir?
You think when a live picture goes back, live picture of a product, live picture of the product is more or less effective as just a static picture with a live number?
When by live picture, you mean like a video or something, or a flash animation?
You have to show a picture up there, don't say buy under it. That's a picture of a product. I can click on it, I can scroll and click on it.
So the question is, should you put a call to action below your picture? Is that, okay.
Having the call to action might have more effective picture than just having a picture to click on.
Yeah, make it, yes, the question is, it may not be obvious that you're supposed to click on a picture. Should you put a call to action below it? Yes, absolutely. Assume people are stupid and you'll never be wrong. Okay. I mean that about consumers. I don't mean the people in this room. No. Actually, it's not so much about being an expert, it's about making things obvious. One other thing to test with pictures and calls to action is text underneath them. You may not, people have banner blindness where people basically ignore banner ads, right? It's a well-documented phenomenon. They have button blindness too. If you make a big fat button that says, click me, they won't because they'll think it's a graphic. So what we found a lot of times is putting in blue underlined text, the same click me below the button will improve conversion rate significantly. So yeah, all kinds of variations on the call to action. Absolutely, make it obvious, make it belt and suspenders, redundant, test all of that, yes. Okay, sir?
What about pretty layouts versus ugly?
Okay, there's no such thing as pretty or ugly. The question was, what about pretty versus ugly layouts? There's only one kind of layout, profitable or more profitable.
So have you noticed
Wait, I
that?
can't do math, one kind of layout.
With the modern, like the Web 2.0 gradients,
Yeah.
have you seen any?
Yeah, let me put it this way, you have to have minimum professionalism in terms of your production values. Things have to look of a piece and hang together. Don't mix font sizes and colors, don't go crazy with flashing, banner ads and stuff like that. But beyond a certain level of professionalism, it's hard to tell what's going to work. What we found is it's always good to just practice a general principle of less is more. So if you can declutter it, de-emphasize it, unless it's directly supporting your call to action, don't get so pretty. Plain is okay. Plain is profitable in many cases. Yes.
I have another question. If you are doing a lot of dynamic keyword insertion, your landing page, you would recommend not doing this kind of testing? Throw it off like creating other synergies.
Okay, so the question was, what about dynamic keyword insertion? Is that going to throw off other testing you're doing? Actually, no, they tie beautifully together. One of the things I haven't talked about is maintaining a continuity between the traffic you're sending to a page and what happens on that page. Because how you get them there, you know what that is, all of your affiliates and what they're doing? They're making a promise. You have to then fulfill on that promise when they get to your page. Some of the affiliates are making crazy promises that you can't possibly keep, which is why their traffic doesn't convert. If I said, whatever, free sex, that'd probably get a lot of people to the page, but if that's not what you're selling, you're out of luck. So the way to think about it is you want that scent trail, or what's called information origin theory, the notion is you want to basically think they're getting closer to their goal. It might be just a little micro step. Okay, they clicked on blue suede shoes, and you say, welcome to the blue suede shoe specialist. You can do dynamic keyword insertion in your page template as long as you do it consistently. and make that one of the variables in your test. Is it better with dynamic keyword insertion or not? So absolutely work on the continuity and basically keeping your promise that was created upstream of your actual page. Other questions, sir? In the very back.
That sample you had with 146 links and all the products on the page versus the one that followed, basically images of categories. You think that images of categories or images of products on the page.
So the question was on the cluttered homepage example for Adorama and B&H Photo. Is it better to use pictures of categories rather than text links? No, my point was more like devote a lot of real estate to getting people closer to their goal.
Not text. In other words, the images on the cluttered page were individual products.
Right, yeah.
The images on the other were categories.
So think of it this way, yeah. So the question was, okay, when you have a big product line, how do you get people to their goal? Do you feature certain products or do you drill down to categories? The answer is generally drill down to categories and subcategories till you get to a manageable subset. If you just said, I have 100,000 SKUs or unique items in my catalog, here, would you like to browse through them? That would be kind of rude. It's like, I want to get to some place and you drop me off 10 miles outside of town and say, walk the rest of the way. If you bring back search results and say 47 pages of search results, do you really expect someone to step through those? That's inappropriate. So help guide them down to the decision to a manageable set of things they could look at and then expose the product detail at that point. Does that make sense? Thank you. Other questions?
Why do advertisers test so
Speak
little?
up, please.
I'm sorry. Why do advertisers test so little if it's that easy?
Why do advertisers test so little? I've been asking myself that a lot. Actually, really smart advertisers test a lot. But the short answer to your question is that it's not, you need to have skill set in usability, in copywriting, in graphics, in human psychology, some technical skills, and some math skills if you use common tools to understand the analysis and the statistics. And so it's not that easy. But that doesn't mean starting out has to be hard. You can just say, we're going to test the headline. The tweaks to the page to add your little test code in or variant. Just about anybody can do it. So start small. Where people get overwhelmed is, well, I can't do a test with a million versions. Well, don't. Just do an A/B split test. But get comfortable with the idea of testing. Have one quick hit or one win, and translate that into the economic impact that you just had. And make that business case to the rest of your company for additional testing. Say, look what we did by just farting around. We made $100,000 more. Okay, well maybe we should fart a lot more often. Other thoughts, comments, questions, Rotten Tomatoes? Wow, I stumped the audience. I never thought it'd happen. You guys were out partying late last night. Yes, Craig? Video in your landing pages, should you test that? Is it a new trend? My answer to that one, I'm not necessarily a domain expert in that, is it can go either way. We've seen where flash animation works better, we've seen where video works better, we've seen where removing both of those and just having text works even better. So really context dependent, there's no silver bullet. I'm sorry. Yes, test, exactly, yes, sorry. That's going to be my answer to a lot of stuff.
Question about A/B testing. Right now, let's say one of the merchants is not doing testing, so that's why I'm really interested in that. And I'm wondering, when you're doing A/B testing, I think you mentioned something during the presentation about directing, I think, traffic to your current, page.
Yes.
By, the rest of the other one. What's I think something about dividing that. Do you do that on, like when you're doing the testing? Like, I don't know, what's the time period that you do it as far as to make a decision as far as?
Okay, so yeah, so is it about how long to run the test? Is that what you're asking?
How long to run the test?
And how much traffic to give each version?
Exactly.
Okay, so if you're doing an A/B or an ABC split test, you split your traffic evenly. So you have 3 versions, and each get a third at random of your traffic. How long to run it? until you've reached the confidence level you want to reach in your answer. Okay, I'm seeing a 10% effect, but is it real? Well, I'd have to run it this long to get 95% confidence, and you just wait until you have the test. Typical testing run takes anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to a couple of months to get it correct. So if it's a multivariate test, you zero in on the best one at the beginning, and then you usually do a week at the end for the head-to-head. One quick caution, always collect data in increments of 1 week, because it gets rid of all the time of day and day of week effects. Okay, just because something worked on Friday doesn't mean it'll work with your audience when they're at home on on Saturday. So run across the whole week to average those effects.
So you just say, after you find the right combination of multivariate testing, you run a head-to-head to validate that test?
The question was, should you run a head-to-head to validate a multivariate test? Absolutely, because one of the things that this is a huge mistake people make. When you do multivariate testing, and again, the map that a lot of them are using assume there are no context effects, you're getting a model that you're building, and it's predicting what your best answer is going to be in the absence of context effects. So if you want to see if that effect is real, you better do a head-to-head and make sure that difference, that theoretical prediction actually holds up. Always, always, always do the head-to-head at the end of a multivariate test.
Maybe we back test it later, I suppose.
Yeah, and a lot of times what you want to do is run it continuously, basically how they, 10% of the traffic continues to go to your loser, just to make sure that your advantage holds up over time. How are we doing on time? I'm getting the hook.